No one in the Hall of Suns had ever heard silence sound so loud. Because when Princess Lyra Vale offered the human a mountain of royal riches, gold vaults, moon deeds, star yachts, servant codes, and a title that would echo for centuries, he looked at all of it, smiled like a man refusing a second cup of tea, and said, "No thank you." The court froze. The musicians forgot their notes. The nobles stared as if a comet had walked in wearing work boots. Because in the Auric Empire, nobody refused the throne. People begged for a glance, bled for a ribbon, poisoned cousins for a dinner invitation. Yet Elias Hart, cargo pilot, mechanic, son of Earth, turned away from enough wealth to buy entire constellations, and the reason was worse than insult. Worse than rebellion, worse than greed, it was honesty. "I saved you because it was right," he said, and those words cracked through the jeweled chamber harder than cannon fire. Because honor without a price terrifies people who have priced everything. Lyra sat on her crystal throne and stared at him as if she had never seen a real person before. And maybe she had not. By dusk, the whole empire was devouring the story. The human who refused royal riches, reporters chased his battered freighter through the capital docks. Singers turned him into a legend before his engines even warmed. And ministers whispered that the refusal itself was a political weapon. But Elias loaded seed packs, water filters, spare coils, and a crate of cheap ceramic mugs, then prepared to leave Aurelia prime forever. He wanted his quiet valley, his dented machines, his tomatoes, and the deep, unremarkable peace of a life nobody was trying to own. Then came the thought that changed everything. Because while the Empire argued over him, Lyra stood alone in the palace observatory, staring at his ship shrinking into the stars, replaying the refusal, no hunger, no fear, no strategy, only freedom. And freedom was rarer in her world than black star diamonds. Every smile around her hid an ambition. Every gift had a chain attached. Every future had already been signed by older hands. Then she did the one thing a princess was never meant to do. She walked away from the gold, stole a shuttle, hid herself in a pilot coat, and followed the man who could not be bought. For 8 days, she trailed his freighter across the lanes, sleeping in cramped bunks, burning terrible coffee, and feeling more alive than she ever had beneath 1,000 chandeliers. Then Earth rose before her, blue, stubborn, and beautiful. Not primitive, as imperial briefings liked to sneer, but scarred and inventive. A world forever repairing itself with grit and laughter. Elias landed in a mountain valley, where fog rolled over pines and solar panels shone above fields. His home was a weathered farmhouse, a machine shed, 3 drones missing paint, and yes, a tomato patch spread in thick red rows like a quiet joke aimed straight at the Empire. She stepped from her shuttle, pulled back her hood, and Elias nearly dropped a crate on his foot. "Princess," he said, "please tell me the Empire is not invading my farm." She laughed before she could stop herself. "Not today." Then she gave him the truth. "I came to see how a man lives who can look at the universe and still choose enough." And that line hung between them like a door opening. He should have sent her back, but instead he gave her the spare room. And Earth began undoing her one simple day at a time. She learned how heavy water buckets were, how easily eggs burned, how dirt got under royal nails and refused to leave. She learned the market noise of Saturday mornings, the comfort of eating on a porch while rain drummed the roof, the strange dignity of fixing a clogged filter with your own hands. Children from neighboring farms called her the Star Princess until she asked them not to. Old Mrs. Alvarez brought peach pie and sharper advice. And every evening, Elias told stories while repairing machinery, stories of cargo routes, lonely stations, and human colonies that survived on cooperation instead of inheritance. The more she listened, the more her old life felt polished but hollow. Then came the moment that split her heart wide open, because happiness, she discovered, was not being served, it was being needed. Not being displayed, but belonging somewhere so ordinary that your absence would actually matter. The Empire came for her on the 12th day. Gold cruisers tore across the valley sky, royal guards poured down the road, and the Prime Minister stepped into the mud looking offended that dirt existed. He brought commands, apologies, threats dressed as concern, and a transport gleaming like a portable palace. The Emperor was furious. The court was panicking. Rivals were circling. She was to return at once. Smile for the public, kneel in private, and marry where the throne required before scandal turned into precedent. Villagers watched from fence lines. Drones hummed overhead. And Elias stood beside her with mud on his hands and no speech prepared, because he would not cage her even to keep her. The minister looked at the farmhouse and sneered. "Your Highness, this fantasy has lasted long enough." Lyra looked at the guards, then at the porch, the fields, the neighbors who had treated her like a person instead of an asset, and finally at the man who offered her the most terrifying thing in existence, a choice all my life, she said. "You taught me that wealth proves worth, that comfort means happiness. That obedience keeps the stars in order. But here I learned work, hunger, kindness, laughter, and sleep without fear. If the throne asks me to surrender those truths, then the throne is poorer than this farm." The valley went still. Then she removed the sun seal from her neck and placed it in the minister's hand. "Tell my father his daughter was not stolen," she said. She simply followed the first honest man she ever met home. And that was how the story spread across worlds. The human refused the riches. The princess followed him into the mud. And somewhere between burnt dinners, repaired engines, and tomato rows glowing red at sunset, they found the kind of wealth no empire could mint.